it was bad. And I'm disappointed. And you know what? I blame myself. I blame myself for having such high expectations. Hello to each and everybody out there watching. Kirae Dynamite here, and today I'm going to review Wonder Woman 1984. And man, was I excited for this movie. You know, I saw the trailers from a while back and I was like, this is the one. And the first Wonder Woman, I was like, this is the one. This is gonna reset the DCEU problems. And this one was different. But movie opening starts out with little Diana, like the first one, you know. She's trying to win this competition. She ends up cheating, and her aunt is like, oh, you thought you were gonna win? Well, you're not, because you cheated, and that's not right. And then her mom has a little talk with her, and she's like, Diana, you need to get things with the truth. You cheated. Blah, blah, blah. Little Diana's crying. The opening scene was pretty good. A lot of CGI that looked like CGI, not good CGI. You could tell, like, it was very rubbery looking. I'm talking about Spider-Man, Raimi's Spider-Man, back in the early 2000s. That's what the CGI looked like. And I was just like, why? What was going on? There is an 80s mall, okay? And this opening scene was followed by the scene with little Diana. My sister says maybe this scene is like a movie within a movie, like they made a movie about her, and like and so we're just trying to figure out, why is the scene so bad? There's an actor who literally screams no like that. What's going on here? My other sister said it was like watching the Three Stooges try to do a heist. Shining moment of the movie for me is in the opening scene where Diana shows up to get the guys from the mall who were trying to rob the jewelry store. There's this black little girl, and she was the cutest thing, and she was looking at Wonder Woman like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And Wonder Woman is like winks at her, and like the little girl like smiles, and there was like a couple scenes with them that was really, really, really cute. And I was like, me and my sister were like, is this gonna be our favorite thing in the movie? Like, this is cute. We didn't know that would actually be our favorite part of the movie. Okay, I was joking, but that actually was my favorite part of the movie, was the little black girl who was like, her and Gal Gadot. I mean, I was like, that is the cutest thing ever. They go into a jewelry store and they're like, we don't want any of this crap. We know there's a black market going on in the back room. Let us through. And that's how they get the wishing stone, the gem, the citrate, or whatever. And then, you know, it ends up with the geologist. They had the 80s mall going, but my thing is, this movie was based in the 80s, and they didn't hit me over the head enough that it was based in the 80s. So now some of the fashion was good. Gal Gadot, she's gonna look good in anything. Really, she's gorgeous, so there's that. But her wardrobe was cute. They had a little montage with Steve, with him changing, you know, since they had a montage with her in the first movie. He had a montage with him, you know, trying on 80s clothes. That was cute. But I feel like they didn't have any 80s music, really. Like, they could have had some really good 80s stuff, and they didn't. And I just don't understand why they didn't take full advantage of it. It could have been so much fun. Diana is now working with archaeology and things like that. We get into the plot of the movie, which is about this wishing stone. I think they called it like citrate or something. But the plot of the movie is that you can wish on this stone. When they get the stone, Kristen Wiig's character is like, oh, it's like worth $75, says you can wish on it or whatever. And this guy comes over and he's like, I wish I had a coffee. And then he keeps on going, and then this guy is like, oh, I had an extra coffee. And so they're like, oh, that's crazy, whoa. And so Diana takes the risk or whatever, and she's like holding it, and then she's just like, I do. So we all know she wishes Steve was alive. We get a shot of his watch that's a little bit shaking. And then Barbara, later that night, wishes that she was like Diana, smart, strong, and sexy or whatever, which I'm like, you're already smart, but okay. She wants to be popular. And so Steve comes back. But the thing is, Steve isn't Steve. He came back in another man's body, which was really annoying because I'm like, this is the DC universe. They could have literally like raised him from the dead or whatever. His body could have, just appeared. He could just be him. And so I felt that was a little annoying for me. That people looking at him, he didn't look like Steve, but we knew he looked like Steve, you know what I'm saying? So that was annoying. And then Barbara, all of a sudden, she can walk in heels. People are paying attention to her, and that was her wish. Pedro Pascal's wish was he wants to be successful. He gets a hold of the stone, and he wishes that he was the stone. And so I'm like, okay, this movie is being dumb already. I'm like, this person's wish is to be successful. He could have wished like, hey, I wish I was the owner of a very successful business that will never go under. How about that? But no, he wishes to be the stone, and he grants other people's wishes. And when he grants other people's wishes, his body starts to wear down. But then he's like, oh, my body's wearing down. Maybe if I get someone to wish something, then I can take that life force or whatever and then be healthy again by organ. And I'm just like, why? What's the point? And then they had his son Alistair, who, I'm not gonna talk bad about the kid, but I mean, his acting wasn't that great. They didn't establish their relationship, so I did not care about this father-son relationship at all. The kid kept showing up because the mom was like, hey, it's your weekend. And the dad, Pedro Pascal's character, was very bothered like all the time. And then when he was called a loser by this other guy, then he softened with his son and was like, your dad is not a loser. He's successful and blah, 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 and I'm gonna prove it. And I'm just like, so the motivations for these characters is just like, okay, of course we know that Diana wants Steve back, and we see that this woman wants to be popular, but I'm like, is this really, this is what these characters want? The thing about the wishes is once you wish, in return, you start to lose what's really important about you. So, of course, we have Wonder Woman starts losing her powers, right? Barbara loses everything that's good about her warmth, her funny, she can be funny, she's sweet, she's giving. She loses that and she becomes very cold. And so she just like snaps so sudden. And it's just like, it doesn't feel earned because she was really excited to be friends with Diana. And then like when she got her wish, she was like, this is all that matters now. I don't care about anyone or anything. And then in the beginning of the movie, she's walking home because her and Diana had dinner. She's walking home by herself. This drunken man comes up to her and tries to be aggressive and tries to assault her. And she's like, ah. And then Diana comes over, pushes the guy out, and then, he's like, and, he's pushed away. And then she's like, how did you do that? And she's like, oh, I can teach you. It's really not that hard. And so later we see him again, and she's walking down the street, but this time she has Diana's powers because she was to be strong like Diana. And he's like, starts messing with her again, and she's like, oh, remember me from the other day? And he's like, oh yeah, ha 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 ha. And like, she starts like beating him up, and I'm not feeling sorry for this guy. I don't care. I don't care if he dies. I don't care if she kicks him in the face because he's a horrible man who tried to assault her. So this is the scene that you choose to get me to be like, oh, she's really turning around. She's becoming evil. Look at her. No, what should have happened was the homeless man that she helped before, like, she passes him in the street and says something rude or like cold that she wouldn't have said before. But you choose the scene to make her look bad by beating up a man who tried to assault her. No, I don't care about that man. Therefore, I don't care about that scene and that she tried to beat him and that she kicked him around. They do make the homeless man come in and he's like, Barbara, what are you doing to this man? And she's like, mind your business. And then she goes on. I don't care. We have Pedro Pascal who is becoming the Stone himself, and he's wreaking all this havoc. He's going to world leaders and being like, what do you wish for? And they're like, I want more nuclear power. None of these people had the common sense to wish for world peace. I'm like, humans to the core, we're horrible people. We destroy everything. But I digress. There's this scene where they go to Cairo and she's like, Steve, let's get in the plane. And she turns the plane and she's like, my father was able to turn the mascara invisible. I can see if I can turn the plane invisible. And I was like, so she just has this power now? And my sister was like, oh, that's a throwback because she had an invisible plane. And like, I have like very, very vague memories of that reference. But it wasn't in my brain to where I remembered, like, oh, that's a callback or whatever. Diana's smart, and she was like, oh, darn, I forgot that there's radar. I forgot to tell you about that. They're going to chase us, so let me turn the plane invisible. Then they're flying through fireworks because it's 4th of July. It was just a lot of time wasted in this movie. I was like, when is this going to start? So let's talk about Steve and Diana's chemistry. The first movie for me, I felt like their romance came out of nowhere. It reminds me of Trinity and Neo from The Matrix. It's kind of like, these characters are together because they're together. Don't ask me any questions. And I'm like, I'm gonna need more than that. I'm gonna need them to have some conversations, and other than the fact that they're both attractive people. Gonna need more than that. So I don't really buy that they're like madly in love with one another and that they belong together. I just don't. We get this scene with Wonder Woman and Barbara, who is like, my wish is to be an apex predator, and she turns into a cheetah. This scene was obviously CGI. You could tell in her cat body. It was just like Cat's flashback. Mind you, I did not go see that movie. I couldn't put myself through that nightmare fuel, but I was like, oh no, this is gonna be bad. Barbara and Diana did not meet at the end, or like they didn't say anything to each other at the end. She was kind of just like on top of this building like, oh, I'm human again, I've renounced my wish. Pedro Pascal's character, Maxwell Lord, is like, I need a device that will let me speak to everyone around the world so like he can regain his health back through the wishes. Long story short, he ends up on everyone's screen and he's like, everyone, look at me, tell me what you wish. I can grant everyone's wish, whatever. And so this is like all around the world. He's like, you need to renounce your wish because you know, you're losing your power, you're getting weaker. And she's like, okay. And then they kiss and they share this moment. And then she runs away and she says, I renounce my wish. And then he yells to her from around a corner, I'll love you no matter where you go or where, something. And I laughed at that too, because that just seems such a weird moment to do that. He's literally screaming from around a corner as she runs and regains her powers back. And I was like, this is another scene that y'all chose. First of all, she starts flying, but the scene is just weird because she's acting like she's never done it before, and she did do it before. She flew on the first Wonder Woman, so I'm like, why are you surprised that you can do this right now? And so she stops and gets the gold, you know, the wings, the whole shebang. her armor that was from another warrior. And there was like this story that she told Steve, and she's like, I tried to come here and find her. And I was like, but she was like, but all I found was armor. So I'm like, so are you guys gonna hint at something? So she finds out, so also we find out that the stone was created by God, that the Duke of Deception. And I'm just like, what is going on? She's like, and he went by many names. I'm like, are you talking about the devil? Like, and I was hoping that I don't know why I let myself hope this. I was hoping they would make him show up, but they did not. And it was just like, so we're really going to go with this with Maxwell Lord's storyline. Okay. So she finds Maxwell Lord and she's like, you have to renounce the wishes. You have to think about other people. And she goes through this whole speech that is way too long about truth and honor and da 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 da. And he's like, I see my son, and his son is in trouble. Like, the world is falling apart, and his son is like, Daddy, I want you home, Dad. And he's like, my son, I see my son. And then, you know, people start renouncing their wish because through the lasso, for some reason, when it's touching him and he's on everyone's TV, they can hear her talking through the rope. Dude, I don't know. The lasso, I don't know. There was this guy in somewhere, I don't know where, but she was like, I wish they would just take you back. And then he's like, I wish you would drop dead. And then the lady behind the counter literally drops dead. And they keep coming back. They came to it like twice, where he's like watching the person on TV like, I just killed this person because I wish her dead. And then they have her in the background on the floor and a lady trying to resuscitate her. I was laughing so hard. I was like, why are you showing me this in the background of this guy who was like, I wish you would drop dead? I don't know if they thought that that was gonna be like, oh, look at the outcome. No, it was funny to me. And I'm sorry if that's wrong. And by the way, everything with them renouncing the wishes, everything went back to normal. But what I hate is that I wanted for all the wishes to be undone and everything goes back to normal. Like, all the mayhem that people caused, everything is undone. I wanted memories wiped. But no, everything, people are going to remember this. So yeah, that movie was bad. I'm recording. I'm recording for YouTube. You gotta close the door. A lot of the lines that they chose to do were just very cheesy and it just wasn't good. I would have liked for the storyline to take a twist for a god to show up, and that would have been a lot more entertaining. They did it with the first one. I don't understand why they couldn't. We're dealing with gods and goddesses here, and you guys chose to come up with a wishing stone. I don't know. I don't know. What I thought was gonna happen was he became like, you know what this was? This was Aladdin when Jafar got too powerful, when Aladdin tricked him into being a genie. This is what this was, except, you know, of course he turned to be good. And I don't know why they chose to do a storyline with the man who wanted to be successful, and then he was like, oh, my son is all that matters. Can we just have a villain that is just horrible and like dies at the end? And Pedro Pascal can act, so I blame this on the script, because he did more acting in The Mandalorian with a helmet on than he did in this movie. I was like, this is rough. This is rough. Me and my sister were sitting here we could not believe how bad this movie was. Don't forget to subscribe. I would really appreciate if you did, and like and comment. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.